In this video, I'm going to show you the progress on my first indie game, Jumpy Tank. Yes, you heard me right, Jumpy Tank. Greetings, my name is FiddlerSci09, and welcome to Phil Makes Games. This is the first devlog for Jumpy Tank. This is a game based off of the basic geometry dash mechanics, but you can shoot down obstacles. If you want to learn some tips about game dev while being entertained by goofy ideas, this is the video for you. So without further ado, let's jump right in. I will summarize my first 2 weeks of progress in 3 main parts, which are 1. Planning and pre-production, 2. Laying a foundation, and 3. Adding some features. I will also give some tips to aspiring or beginner game devs at the end of the video. So let's jump right into part 1, planning and pre-production. To plan, I made a game design document based off of my own template. If you want to see this document, there's a link in the description for that Google Doc. The main things I wanted in this plan that were different from past game design documents were 1. A reasonable goal. I wanted this game to be achievable within the next 2 months at the most. 1. A reasonable goal. I wanted this game to be achievable within the next 2 months at the most. And while this may not be achievable, it is at least a general guideline to help me stick with a smaller scope. This might have been a mistake, and I'll tell you why near the end of the video. And the second thing I wanted was 2. An end point. I wanted this game to be devoid of scope creep, which is overscoping. If you didn't know, I am an overscoper, so this was extremely important for me. I wanted to limit what I was able to do with this game. This summarizes the planning and pre-production phase of my first game. Now I will talk about part 2. Laying a foundation. I am using the Godot game engine, and however you want to pronounce it, I had a lot to learn about Godot. When I started making this game, I had experience in making Minecraft minigames and in programming in C#. I also took a quick course on the syntax of GDScript, which is Godot's built-in scripting language. Syntax was pretty easy for me since I've already learned C#, but the main problem was learning the different functions. To lay a foundation, I had already made a quote-unquote prototype, so I already had some experience creating something like this, but I didn't want to just modify this quote-unquote prototype, so I decided to start from scratch and see what I could remember. Nothing beats experience when it comes to learning art, and repetition solidifies knowledge gained by experience. I remade the base game, and it went well, although a little bumpy at times. To begin, I made some basic art and animation for the tank and the tileset. Then I created a player. Like the player in my quote-unquote prototype, I used the default platformer program provided by Godot and added a constant velocity.x. That way the player's always moving right. Then I implemented a tileset. After that, I started to make some lava and spent a long time making the player able to die. I googled and watched many YouTube videos. This was probably the most frustrating part of creating the basic mechanics, but I got it finished. I ended up using an area 2D in every dangerous area that the player could die in. Then I used a signal to trigger a function that stopped the player and reset the player's position. The 2 main ways the player can die are falling into lava and hitting a block from the right or from the bottom. Just like in Geometry Dash, although not the lava. There's no lava in Geometry Dash. At least I don't think. When laying the foundation of the game, I overcomplicated the player's hitbox and hurtbox system, but I have recently realized that I don't necessarily need all those complicated collision boxes. Before we move on to part 3, if you are liking the video so far, please make sure to leave a like and make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. They are both totally free and undoable and give me the biggest dopamine hit I've ever had in my life, so like and subscribe! Part 3, adding some features. The 2 main features I added after laying the foundation were the explosion effect and coins. To create an explosion effect, I knew that I wanted to use a particle effect because I didn't want to take hours to animate an uninteresting pixel art explosion. I've never actually worked with particles until this point, and this was something that I've already been excited for since I was an aspiring game dev. I didn't know if I would like it or not, but I really enjoyed it. I know now that there is always at least one thing for everybody in game dev, even if it's just something as small as a simple particle effect. The explosion particle effect is made up of two parts, the explosion itself and the ashes. To implement the explosion, I made a node 2D and added two CPU particles 2D as children of it. Then I messed around with the particles and finalized a particle effect that I was happy with. Then I entered my level node and nested the explosion scene as a child of my tank player. Then I set up the player death sequence to include an explosion. Simple as that. To create the coin, I created the art for the coin animation. Then I created an area 2D and added a collision shape 2D and an animated sprite 2D as children. I added the shape of the collision shape 2D as a circle and made it larger than the coin. Then I added a simple particle effect and programmed the coin to disappear and leave a particle effect when the player hit it. Then I spread the coins throughout the map. From my limited experience, the best practices when implementing features is to think about what the individual features will need to function. The most common mistake I made when creating these features was creating nodes I didn't need, or the wrong nodes. Fortunately, Godot comes with a built-in ability to magically change the node you are working with to a different type. Tips. This is the part of the video where I tell you 3 things that you should take away from this video and use in your own first projects in Godot or otherwise. 1. Start smaller than me. My first indie game is too large in scope for what beginners should try, because I've had more experience than most beginners in programming and making games in Minecraft, but we don't talk about those. Even I think I overscoped this game. If you want to complete a game, make the most simple thing you can think of. If you want a video for the ideas of the first games you should create, leave a comment down below. Tip 2. Get a basic understanding of your engine's scripting language and layout. I started making this game knowing some basics of C# and in GDScript, and if you want to learn GDScript, there's a link down below in the description for a free course by GDQuest. Check out their YouTube channel. They have really helped me get on my feet, and I owe a lot of my knowledge to them. Tip 3. Experiment. This game came from an experiment, my quote-unquote prototype. I wanted to see if I could create a basic geometry dash mechanics easily. All I did was add a constant velocity.x to the default player script, and it worked. The best way to learn game development is to experiment, because game dev is art, and art is best learned through experiment. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Again, please make sure to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I have been FiddlerSio9, and I'll see you on the next devlog. Ciao!